It's now 6 o'clock. We'll call to order the March 2024 meeting of the Diamond Head Property Owners Association. You call the roll, please.
Ex officio Marthouse. Director Ramirez.
Here.
Director Pino.
Present.
Director Nutting. Director Lee.
Present.
Director LaFontaine.
Present.
Director Blackwood. Secretary Tozan. Treasurer James.
Present.
Vice President Sislo.
Present.
President Becker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have approval of minutes for the meeting from last month.
Minutes were approved, completed February 26th.
Thank you. Does anyone need to approve or amend the meeting agenda? I'm going to make a motion to amend the meeting agenda to take item 2024-06 off of the open meeting. A motion to approve request to establish a legal committee since it involves personnel and legal, and we will handle that in executive session after the meeting. Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Nancy seconds. Any comments? All in favor? Motion passes. Anybody else? Okay. Next on the agenda, the President's report. The first thing I'd like to mention is that we're in an election cycle coming up in the next 3 months. On June the 15th, 2024, we will hold an election and get all new officers and 3 new directors. And at that same time, all of the committees that are currently in force end and start over again with the new board. So if you would look at your newsletter coming up soon, there'll be election material in the newsletter telling you about voting, et cetera, and what type of voting we're going to have and so forth. So look for that, please. And if you want to run for office, you could start thinking about that. We'd be glad to have candidates. The Mardi Gras season just ended. It was a very good time for the club at Diamond Head. In February of 2024, the club made $10,000, which is money to the good. It's above the budget. It's better than we expected. We owe a lot of thanks to the staff. And sometimes they had more than one event on the same day. So Chef Ricky and Chris Rom, and Michaela and Danny and the whole staff pitched in, and we think we just did a good job this year. So thanks to all of them. On the golf courses, and I know I'm stealing some of Mr. Abadee's information here when I'm talking about the results of the month, but we wanted to brag a little bit. Thanks to Miss Nancy Perkins, who's sitting right over there. We've had a really good season of outside play. The golf courses are in good shape thanks to the superintendent and his staff, and people just want to come and play Diamond Head. I mean, we've had groups from Illinois. We had a group from St. Louis of 140 golfers who were here for how many days? 2 days, and they're coming back again later in the year with another 70 golfers or so. We had a group from Arkansas, from Tennessee, from Kentucky. The golf courses are in such nice shape, everybody wants to come and play. I personally played golf with a man who lives in Craft Farms in Alabama, and they have 2 Arnold Palmer golf courses. And he told me, I'd love to convince my wife to move here. He said, your amenities are much nicer than ours and the prices are lower. So we'd like to thank all those people that pitched in and made it a success. We our goal every month is to take the revenue from the golf courses and cover golf maintenance. Well, the revenue from the golf courses in February exceeded golf maintenance by $40,000. I can't remember when that's ever happened before, so that's quite an accomplishment. On another note, we have new menus in Latitude 30 and in the Oak Room and on the patio, which is starting to get busy, the patio that is. We're starting to see more and more people out there since the weather's turned nice. But we've eliminated a few things from the menu. If there was something you liked that was on the menu and isn't there now, the reason primarily was we want to do the best we can with the items that we present to the community, and some of the items were harder to prepare and we couldn't make them consistently, so we would rather remove that item than serve you something which you might not enjoy. We also have a few new items on the menu. One of the big successes is the smash burger. You might want to come and try that. There's also a few things that show up on Facebook from time to time that we don't normally comment on, because once you start writing things on Facebook, you'll be up all night answering, and it goes on forever. But there's a couple of things that I'd like to address. Some of the members say their covenants expired, but they're still receiving bills. We're still billing members in Diamond Head because the case is still in court and hasn't been decided yet. We had one favorable verdict and one unfavorable verdict. And until we get a final verdict, it's our responsibility to send out the bills. We are not taking anyone to court for money after their covenants expired. So if someone owed money and their covenants expired, we will take them to court to pay the money before the covenants expired. But if someone tells you we're taking people to court for money after they think their covenants expired, that would have to be a huge mistake, because we're just not doing that. The other thing is, I saw a post from someone the other day that was pointed out to me, and he said, I should be a member in good standing because I paid my dues up until my covenants expired, but I'm not paying now. And if you look at the bylaws, the definition of a member in good not in good standing is, or a member in good standing is defined by a member who is not more than 30 days past due in the payment of charges and assessments to the corporation, and who's not in violation of the declaration of restrictions. So you're still a member of the corporation because you still own a piece of property here, and that's what defines a member. But you're not a member in good standing and not entitled to the discounts if you don't pay dues. That's what it boils down to. The other thing I hear a lot is you're a POA supporter or you're a city supporter. And I'd like to point out to everyone that those two things are not mutually exclusive. We're working very well with the city on this board and the previous just passed board. And we're working on different projects together. We just turned over to the city the duck pond, which they wanted so they could control that area. And we have all of the members of this group riding around looking at all of the lots we own to see what's buildable and what's not buildable, so that we can take the lots that aren't buildable and consider donating those to the city to use for drainage. The city wants them, and they said they will pledge that the lots will remain as drainage lots and they won't sell them and let somebody build on them 5 years from now. So we're working very closely with them on that also. We've come and met with them and the engineer that they brought in about dredging some of the ponds, which they're talking about starting before too long. We're talking to each other about dredging the canals in Diamond Head, which I think they're planning on doing in the not too distant future also, which would be a good thing for all of us, because then we could bring bigger boats in. And I don't know if you boat or not, but during winter tides, sometimes we go out of the main bayou and there's only 2 feet of water. So the canals silt in over time, and it's just, they need to be dredged. And the city got the canal bottoms, were donated to them by Purcell. And so the cities aren't working on, I think they already have grant money to do that, and we're talking with them about that project. So the city and the POA are working very well together. There's no friction between the board of the POA and the city. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is committee reports. Director Pino.
The Marina Airport Committee has nothing to report for March.
Thank you. Director Lee.
Nothing at this time.
Director LaFontaine.
The House Committee met on Monday, March 18th, and the discussions consisted of the new storage building. We've reviewed the bids and the options and looked at ways to reduce the project costs, and they'll be continuing to review it at our next meeting. The handicap parking violations and solutions to parking problems around the country club were also discussed in detail, trying to remedy some of those problems. And the Latitude 30 morning breakfast menu service will continue through March and will be reviewed again during the April committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Tozan.
I have no committee report.
Vice President Sislo.
The Recreation Committee met this month, and we're pleased to see that the fencing around the club pool is being revised to bring more of the pavilions within the fence, making it easier for families to gather together and still safely access the pool. We're working with the food service, and Chris Rame met with us and talked about a new menu that we're going to use at the country club pool to offer menu items to people who are at the pool, that food will be delivered to them this year. At the same time, Chris also mentioned that many families have asked about a play area near the patio at the club. So we've started to think about what are the possibilities, what are the issues, what are the concerns with that idea. We also discussed how to increase pickleball play. We've got some issues with the tennis courts don't work well for pickleball, but pickleball is really increasing. So we're going to continue to explore what we can do there. We're working on getting a new ball machine for Tennis World. Right now we have one that's not quite up to date and starting to fall apart, so we're going to have to get that replaced. In the past, not all pavilions have been rented, but now every pavilion that we have here can be rented through the rec committee, through Donna. And then the annual Easter egg hunt was held, and I hear it was a smashing success and everybody had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer James.
Yes, the Golf and Grounds Committee met on the 14th. On the grounds, or the golf, the left side bunker on number 8 Cardinal has been roughed in with a drainage to be cut in by Wednesday. We'll order grass for the following week. It will start mowing the right side in about a week and full open for play May the 1st. Number 6 Pine Bunker, the drain line under the path was completed today. And number 3 Cardinal Green by the cart path is filled in with dirt and been sodded. The golf, they recently hosted a MSGA group of about 80 players, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, plus a Kagel group that had comments that says Diamond Head is the best of all courses on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The club has also hosted Shell Deepwater golf tournament on March 9th, another on the 23rd. They have a Gulf Coast Slavic Chase on Saturday, Jack O'Neill tournament on the 30th, and then ongoing is the Big Kahuna, the ladies Malahini, men's Malahini, and match play events. Other things going on, the Slavic tournament negotiations is ongoing. The cart path by the putting green is now used for walking only. There was discussions of painting caution signs by the cart path near High Point Drive between 16 and 17 Cardinal. There's been a couple of close calls there. Renewing no parking signs along the chipping green, and issues with people moving stakes, out-of-bounds stakes on number 5 and number 11 Cardinal. The committee agreed unanimously to keep the first starting tea time at 7:30 through the summer to help keep the maintenance crew from harm's way. That's it.
Thank you. Director Ramirez?
Facility Committee has no report.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the General Manager's report. Mr. Abady?
Good evening, everyone. In your information package this evening are the financials for the month of February and also year-to-date, January and February combined. As President Becker disclosed and alluded to, it was a positive month in the form of both the country club and the golf operation. The other departments also did a fine job in controlling their payroll expenses, and as a result contributed to the positive net income that we derived. The compliment to the staff that Mr. Becker paid is appreciated, but we also want to acknowledge the value of the patron. And you, the customer, makes it happen. And without the customer base, which are all of you as property owners and the public, the opportunity to provide the product and service doesn't exist. So a big thank you to all of the patrons, and we encourage you to continue your pattern. So the next part of the information packet discloses some information regarding number of lots that covenants may have expired. And it's really statistical information that I think you would appreciate. It also discloses the number of golf memberships sold to date, as well as tennis memberships sold to date. The next page of the report is capital expenditures. As you all know, we are working with a budget where capital expenditures aren't programmed in advance. As they occur and there's a need, we then present them one at a time to you, the board, for approval. This is a summary of expenditures that either have been or will be presented in the near future for year 2024. The next section of the report deals with the collections, and for the month of February, the collections derived $25,610. Most of these were individuals who were delinquent in payments and through various methods agreed to settle their payment in full. So it proved positive. We have a lot more to do on that regard, but we're making some progress. Then we get into the amenity use statistical data, and it goes from golf to tennis to the marina to the RV storage, and generally it shows that we're either staying consistent or improving in the volume of activity. This month we enclosed a fairly detailed report provided by the Golf Academy, and what it does is it lists the student's name, their status, what was sold to them, at what price, and of the package that they purchased, how much has been used and how much remains. It's about 4 or 5 pages in length, the detailed report, one that will update and provide you with the current information each month. I'll let you study that, and if you have questions, I can do what I can to answer them. The next page gets into the food and beverage sales. Month of February, $263,117 derived in food and beverage sales, with Friday being the biggest day of the week, followed by Saturday, Sunday, and Thursday. The average sales per day in year 2023 was $8,815. And year-to-date, we're a little under that. January and February aren't peak months, but we're at 8,261, so we're doing pretty good. The next is a summary of the work that Nancy Perkins and the sales and marketing efforts are generating. And she's traveling from St. Louis to Chicago to who knows where next, but we appreciate the fact that she's generating group outings and the opportunity to talk with some of the folks who have visited us is always refreshing because they appreciate the quality of what Diamond Head represents. The next page in your package lists some events and outings that are programmed for the coming week. And we follow up that with the payroll overtime data. And here again, the department managers are doing a good job managing and watching expenses. The last page in your packet, I believe, will hold till a later time. So thank you for the opportunity to present this, and if there's any questions now or tomorrow or next week, I'm here.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next on the agenda is POA members' comments on agenda items. Do we have anyone?
We have one person signed up, Miss O'Hara.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. You actually took it off because I was here to talk about the legal committee because I just wanted to know what that was about. You did say that you were going to continue to go to court because you had one good outcome and one not, and you wanted to get a final resolution. And I kind of wanted to find out how much that is costing and if it's really worth it, because it seems like people are going to pay willingly like I am, and a lot of my friends will, because I think that's a bargain. And I think that y'all do a great job, and it really pleased me to hear how well y'all are working with the city, because in the past that hasn't not been the case, and it's really nice to hear that. So I just wanted to know, how long is this going to be the final time y'all go to court over this, or paying the dues when the covenants expire? You want to continue to try and see if you can get people to pay once their covenants expire? Is that
Okay.
the goal?
This is a comment period. We don't do questions and answers during this period, but you could talk to Mr. Abity or one of us after the meeting's over,
Okay.
and we'll be glad to answer your question.
Okay. And basically, I did want to just say, I appreciate you guys. I think you're doing a real nice job.
Thank
And
you.
that there are a lot of people that do support you. I know you get a lot of hits on Facebook.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you, sir. Very good.
Okay, on the regular agenda, we have left motion 2024-07, motion to repair all the hydraulic cylinders on the John Deere 310 backhoe, cost not to exceed $17,000. This backhoe is 25 years old. Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Our treasurer, James, makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Director LaFontaine seconds. Discussion. Mr. James?
Yeah, just to, I think you mentioned the backhoe is 25 years old. It's got 10,000 hours on it. It's, the hydraulics basically reached a wear and age to where the seals are failing and requires to be rebuilt. The cost of $17,000 covers all that cost, plus including checking the brake system, which is hydraulic as well. And that cost would roughly be about $1,200 a month. But it can be amortized as extended life. But just to give you an idea of what our other options would be, to buy a used unit on a 48-month lease would be $1,500 a month, or $65,000, or buying a new unit at $109,000 at $2,600 a month. So the life extension of this piece of equipment that gets used on a quite routine basis is well worth the cost to repair it, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I have one quick question. You talk about extend the useful life, so this repair will extend it another almost 10 years?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
for the hydraulic issues. That doesn't mean something else couldn't happen, but
Director LaFontaine, do you have something to add?
No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. But Ronnie, of course, the superintendent thinks this will make it a usable piece of equipment again.
oh, for sure.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a question? All in favor? Raise your right hand. It's unanimous. The motion carries. Excuse me. The next item is POA members' comments on non-agenda items.
We have 3 people who signed up. First up, Mr. Knobloch.
A familiar face. By the way, Ernie, we're happy to hear that you're feeling better.
What a difference.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you. My eyes look a little screwy. They were dilated, and they're not back to normal. In the February meeting, a resident asked if it was worthwhile to try to collect money from property owners for back dues, and the POA president and the attorney both answered yes, and they used politically correct wording, which is what they have to do. Since I'm just a member, I'm not constrained by that language. As Mr. Becker explained, the POA is attempting to collect back dues that occurred before the property covenants may or may not have expired. These property owners made a conscious decision not to pay dues, which means that everybody else who is paying dues is paying to keep up those people's property values also. Justice court is where most of the cases are handled. Justice court, if you're not familiar with it, is basically a small claims court with a maximum of $3,500. Based on the figures I've seen in the last couple of years, there's a lot of money involved since the POA has been collecting $200,000 or $300,000 a year for that. Here's where it really gets interesting. Justice court judges, and judges, when you say justice court judges, there should be quotations in front of the judge and in the back of the judge. They're not attorneys, okay? Up until 5 or 6 years ago, justice court judges didn't even have to have a high school diploma. Now they must have at least a high school diploma. They have to be a registered voter for the last 2 years, and they do attend a number of relatively small programs and presentations after they are elected. Presently, there are 3 elected justice court judges in Hancock County. One is from the Diamond Head area, and he recuses himself from all Diamond Head questions. The second judge routinely finds in favor of the POA if the POA is able to prove that the dues owed were from before their covenants on that property may or may not have expired. The third judge, within the last year and a half, ruled that the POA's only method was to expel members who did not pay their dues. That specific wording has already been ruled on by the Mississippi Supreme Court, and the court found that is not the correct interpretation of the covenants. When the POA attorney tried to provide that judge with the actual legal decision, the judge refused to accept the information. The POA then went to a higher court, and the higher court found that the ruling from the Justice Court judge was wrong because the Mississippi Supreme Court had already adjudicated that question. The higher court also ruled that the Justice Court judge was required to hear the cases. The POA had to pay additional money to appeal the higher court and lost back dues for several months. For a while, this judge reluctantly heard those cases, or these cases, and if the POA had the correct documentation, found in favor of the POA. Within the last month or so, this same judge ruled once again that the only remedy for the POA was to expel the property owner who had not paid dues. Once again, the POA attorney attempted to show the judge the Mississippi Supreme Court ruling. The judge refused to accept it. In my opinion, the POA needs to file, and through the attorney, file the necessary legal paperwork to have this judge either removed, penalized in some sort of way, since he refuses to follow set case laws which have already been decided by the Mississippi Supreme Court, because the POA should not have to be spending extra money for something that's already been decided. And finally, just for your own information, Diamond Head residents cannot vote for or against this judge because he's elected from a different area of the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. LaBourgeois.
Hey, I'm Sally LaBourgeois from 77109 Golf Club. I've been here a year and love it. I've used the club. I've used the pools. I appreciate the way those run. They're very well done. My house is right where Mauna Kea is being built behind me at High Point. They cleared out and they have baby deer, grown-up deer, lots of deer. I'm just curious, and I wanted to see everybody who's who, because we're all in this together. And when I see people at the club, I want somebody to come over and just chat, like this fella has chatted, Mr. Fontaine. But that was at Mardi Gras, and you were all dressed up, and you know. So the draining canal, drainage, I'm a big drainage fan. I love to see it working properly. So I would be a marina user if I think I could get a boat in there. Airplanes, I'm not too fond of. But there's so many questions. So many questions. I miss having a bumper sticker, because back in the 90s I was a lot holder, and I would love to see those come back, and or maybe they could sell something. I don't know if y'all are fundraising or what y'all do with if there's any extra money. How does it work? Does it all get socked away for the future? How is it budgeted? I don't even know how all that works, but I would love to. So
Okay.
I met with Mr. Abedy the other day, and he's like, I've only been here since 2020, so I want to talk to the guys that have been here the long time,
Okay.
you know, and get some details. I don't know, you know, they say go to the city, go to the POA. There's a lot of that, but since we're all in this together, we have a lot of people to make happy on Facebook, and that is like a real thing where renters, owners, I get it. I
Okay.
get covenants being gone, but I'm in good standing. So thank you.
We'll arrange a meeting to answer your questions.
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mr. Kagel.
Greg, you know how to get in touch with the lady, or do you? You do? Okay.
My name's Harry Kagel. I'm from 74606 Diamond Head Drive North, and I've been here about 3 years. I've got a bunch of stuff to bring up, and decided that it wasn't worth it. One of the things that I find offensive and not very transparent is that somebody will come up here and address y'all and ask a question, and we're told somebody's going to get in touch with us. Ronnie, you've done that in the past. That doesn't answer my question sitting in the audience waiting to hear the answer. So when do I find out the answer that the lady had asked is my question. And you can't answer. You know? And I find that very offensive, not very transparent. It's as if y'all are hiding the truth or something. Makes me really wonder, okay? I go to the city hall. They answer the questions, and they're in the same position. They have it where they don't have to answer, but they don't have a problem answering. Simple questions, I expect an answer to. Okay, so now I have to wait for Ronnie to come to me, okay, and answer my question. And the rest of the people in the audience don't hear the answer.
Well, I think you'll find that Mr. Abady makes himself available almost
I don't want the
8
answer
to 10
from Mr.
hours a
Aberdeen.
day.
I want the answer today. And if you can't give me the answer, okay, then publish it or do it something so that everybody can hear the answer. My question requires an answer. If Mr. Aberdeen meets with me, I know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
There's 20 people here in the audience that don't have the answer.
We'll take your comments under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Bob? No one else. Okay. The next open board meeting will be Monday, April the 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Diamond Head City Council chambers where we are now. And we will have a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I move that we adjourn to executive session.
Vice President Sislo, do we have a second?